get fired today, huh? Dennis Carroll got ousted. Dennis Carroll. Personnel board. Harold Rhodes got put in. Personnel board.
Well, welcome. Tonight we're going to talk about one of the departments that we never want to talk about. We just want all the highways to be smooth, no snow, all the bridges to work, and then we don't have to think about Scotty and the crew that goes out to do all this work, and all the trees to be trimmed. But why don't we start with an introduction?
All right, Scott Christofoli, Highway Surveyor for the town of Milford. I basically run the highway department. In charge of the bridges, the roads, the dams, and drainage, stormwater, and that's about it.
Now, the title always gets people confused. What are you surveying?
Exactly.
Highway manager, there's a lot of titles I could understand, but when people look and say, what do you survey?
Well, there was a time when there was pretty much every town and city in Massachusetts had a highway surveyor. At this point, I think I'm one of 5 left. They are all gone. They've all become DPW directors or highway superintendents or whatever, but there's 5 of us left. We don't survey anything. We look over the roads, I guess.
It's essentially a DPW for the highways and byways and bridges and everything we have.
Basically, it's pretty much a self-contained DPW within the highway department.
So if somebody was to say, my number one question every year, you doing my street? The question always comes out, what streets are you doing and why aren't you doing more?
We do as many as we can afford to do, first of all. So every year we come up with a list. I mean, I have a list that goes on, it continues every year because we have a huge list and we kind of pick away at it every year. A year like this, we have Medway Road to do. That's a 4-lane highway, basically.
Well, that's a huge project.
It is, and it's a very expensive project. So what happens on a year like this, we had a list of 7 or 8 roads we're going to do. That's probably going to be cut in half because I have to get 109 done. It failed quite a bit this winter. It's not holding up well. So it's
now
time.
When we think of 109, from the 16 intersection all the way to Medway, or
it'll go from Route 16 at that crazy intersection to the intersection at Wendy's. McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Then it'll stop there because under the bridges is owned by Mass DOT. We'll pick it up again on the other side of the bridges and go to the Medway town line.
So from McDonald's to 495, we don't own?
No.
Then why do we have to plow it?
Same reason we plow 109. It is a state route,
gonna say,
but we maintain it. It's up to us to maintain it.
We still have to plow it and keep maintaining it, or else.
That's the deal. We don't do any asphalt repair on it or anything like that. We maintain the sidewalks and we plow and sand.
Now, realistically, that's a big stretch of road.
It is. It's 29,000 square yards.
What does that mean?
That means
miles?
Nothing to you.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Miles, it's probably.
You think of yards for trucks and how much asphalt.
Yeah, it's probably close to 2 miles long once you put all the lanes together. It's 4 lanes wide. I mean, it's 41, 42 feet wide. It's huge. So the cost to do it is depending on what system we're going to go with or how we're going to do it. It basically needs from the ground up, basically. So all the asphalt's got to come out. It's got base failure. It's got top failure. It's time.
Now,
to
when
change.
you look at a highway, over the years we've talked about all the techniques that come into vogue. Grinding the top, removing it. What goes into a highway? I mean, this is a pretty substantial use avenue in Milford.
Yep. I mean, you want to get the the best bang for the buck, I guess. What they call mill and fill. That's plane the top off, put another 1.5 inches of top back down. Pretty simple. It's probably the least expensive, but on a road like that, that's heavily traveled and it has base issues, whatever cracking you see on that road right now or any separation, it's going to reflect through from the base because that's where it's coming from. So you're not going to fix the problem. To go in there and do what we call full depth reclamation would be grind the whole road up to nothing. Total gravel. Truck out what you don't need, reshape it, do all your grading, compact it, repave base, repave top. That's expensive. That's about $1 million to do that road. And again,
do we have $1 million to do that road?
I have $1 million to do it, but that's all I have. So it's a good process. You'll end up with a brand new road and a good base, but at the end of the day, with the asphalt mixes of today, they last 20 years. So in 20 years, you're gonna be doing it again. So you want to get as close to that 20 years as you possibly can, but not spend that much money. There's a process out there I think we're going to try. It's called cold in place recycling. Basically, they will grind the asphalt out right down to the gravel and just skim the gravel. That will be remixed in the machine.
And remelted or whatever you
Well,
want?
no, they don't heat it. They do it cold. So they actually add a cold asphalt mixture to it, or a liquid asphalt mixture. And whatever additives they put in there, they decide that when they core the road what it needs to be rejuvenated. They lay it back down. So basically you're putting the same material back down again, all rejuvenated. And then when that's done, we put another layer of asphalt on top of that. That has to be protected. You have, obviously you don't have the same finish as you would with regular hot top. You have a little bit roughy, bumpy finish. So you got to retop that. So what we do is we're going to lay another inch and a half of hot top over that. Now, at the end of the day, we would expect to get 15 to 20 years range in that, but it's half the price of reclamation. And it's going to fix the base problems that the cold planing or the mill and pave will not fix.
Now, when I think of a base, when they did my driveway, I have 1/1,000,000th the amount of traffic, they told me that the best thing I could have done, which I did, is put double thick base, or the gravel. How thick is the gravel on a Route 109?
Well, that road was actually put together by the state, so it was all state spec. I don't know how thick the gravel is, but I would suspect it's almost 1.5 feet of good gravel in there. Yeah, it's good. It's just the time that's pretty much.
Well, no, but you start with 1.5 feet of good gravel.
Yep.
Then this ground up base gets thrown on top of it again?
That's what we're gonna do, yes. With the cold. Well, it's not. Well, we're actually going to take just the hot top off, so the base doesn't get touched. The hot top gets remixed, gets laid down. There's 5 inches of hot top on there. We're going to be laying down 5 inches.
So the gravel doesn't get
not in the process we're going to do. No.
Now, is there? When you mentioned that the failure comes from the base.
Sometimes, if you see rutting in a road, basically you see where the tires are running.
Yeah.
That's usually base failure or bad.
That it's
mixing.
compressed,
it's
or
compressing, yeah.
So will they re-level the base or add some in to make sure?
Well, we don't need to, because that road's really not doing that.
Oh.
It's solid. It's just that the asphalt over time has failed. It's 30 years plus old. It's probably closer to 35 years old. The asphalt's failed.
Well, that was my
It's
question,
cracked.
because I
It's
hear
done.
it's going to be 20, but do we really replace it every 15
No,
to 20?
no, we don't. So you want to get as far as you can. That's part of it. There's roads that are 40, 50 years old that we're just doing now. And back then, though, the asphalt was much better. They make these recycle machines. Like if you wanted to,
Wait a minute, what do you mean much better? The chemistry hasn't changed.
Yeah, it has. The liquid,
Has it?
The liquid asphalt was real liquid asphalt. Today it's synthetic. It's mixed. The stones they put in it, they call wrap. It's actually recycled asphalt. You're not getting just stone. You're getting recycled stuff that's already been down, and you don't know what you're getting. You're getting all different kinds of asphalt mixes all together in one mix. There is a certain amount of wrap they allow in asphalt. There's a state spec for that. They only
It's
allow
a dumb
so much.
question. Are we better off telling them what we want, or is that not available?
Yeah, it wouldn't be available. The price would be outrageous.
Okay.
Liquid asphalt is very expensive. It's basically like gasoline. It goes up and up and up, and then it goes down, it goes up. There's actually escalation clauses in our contracts. If the liquid asphalt price goes over 5%, we have to pay the difference. it actually makes our price of asphalt go up. So if I'm paying, I think I'm paying $58 a ton now. If the price of liquid asphalt goes up, then I have to pay over 5%. I have to actually pay the difference. So my price may go to $60 a ton.
And how many tons am I going to use in these 2 miles? I mean, that's always
Without doing the math a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, that's always, when you sit there and say, okay, so it's a couple bucks.
It's 20,000. It's over 25,000, 28,000 square yards. It's a lot. I'll do the calculation in my head, but
It's not a trivial amount. I mean, because when you
No,
say
it's
it's
not.
going up
It's
by a
not.
couple
It's-
bucks,
I mean, it's
I'm
gonna
like,
a rough guess. It's going to be 4,500 ton. Yeah, it's expensive.
So now I make sure the base is all good. I got my gravel.
Mm-hmm.
I then put down 5 inches of this ground up stuff.
This will be the cold in place recycled asphalt. That'll be 5 inches thick.
And why do they do it cold? I mean, you always,
It's a new process.
but it was always that machine that you could see the poor guys in the summer at 100-degree days with, sweating to death behind this hot laid down.
Mm-hmm.
Is it to save money, or why cold versus hot?
Well, because you're not buying new hot top. There is a thing called hot in place recycling, which we've also done, but they don't grind down far enough, in my opinion. We do use it on certain roads that aren't heavily traveled. We did it on Dilla Street, actually, which was a good test for us.
And Dilla's not heavily traveled?
Well, it is, and we put an inch and a half of top on that, and it is holding up. It's doing very well, surprisingly. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. We never
I
done a road
always feel
that
sorry
heavy.
for the people that used to be down on Louisa Lake, quiet little Dilla Street when we grew up.
That's not quite
Had half a dozen cars going by in
is,
the afternoon.
It's more traveled than Main Street, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, now it's got to be one of the busiest streets we have.
So they make that, I was just going to say, the hot in place, but they grind down 2 inches only. So you're only getting 2 inches of hot top remixed. So you're still working with the same base hot top, basically. So like I said, there's an application for that, and it has to be the right application.
So you'd leave 3 inches that's there,
Yeah.
grind
that
off
you
2,
don't touch.
and then put another inch and a half on
You
top?
grind off 2, you put the 2 back down, and then we put another inch and a half over that. So we actually brought the road up. So now it's almost 6 inches thick, a little over 6 inches.
But that's got to be better than 5.
Yeah, but again, if the base asphalt underneath is cracked, it's going to
Oh.
reflect through. It's coming through. That's why you see all the squiggly lines. That's cracking. And usually that goes down through the base. So we fill those to keep the water out, in case you're ever wondering why you see all the little squiggly
I was
lines.
going to say, you got the guys
everywhere.
out there with the little gun that puts the squiggly lines.
Yeah, that saves us years in maintenance. Believe it or not, it does a lot. For the $1 a gallon we pay for that stuff, it can give you 5-6 years more on the road.
Oh,
Definitely.
wow.
Yeah.
I
it's
was going
worth
to
it.
say, even on your home driveway, they sell that crack filler thing.
Mhm.
That, again, all it does is keep the water from
Yeah.
freezing.
The
And
difference between that and what we use, that is actually rubber based. It's rubber. The stuff you buy at a store, I'm not sure what it is, but it's not rubber. It's different. This has to be heated to a certain temperature. It has to be melted into the ground. So
do they do that for home driveways?
I don't think so. It
I
wouldn't
was
be
going to
worth
say, is it just too cost prohibitive?
Yeah, it wouldn't be worth it. You have to do, obviously, thousands of gallons to make any money at it.
Oh,
So,
wouldn't do that even on a long driveway.
no, it wouldn't be worth it.
And I don't really have a driveway. I have a goat path, so if they put anything liquid, I think it would run down.
Yeah, pretty much anything we do is quantity. It has to be quantity for these companies to make money. It's a bidding process, it's procurement. In order to get the lowest price, you could have a lot of work. And we luck out, I got to say. I think, believe it or not, I've been locked into an asphalt company for 3 years now. I have a 3-year contract with them. $58 a ton, delivered and spread. I can't pick it up at the asphalt plant for that price. It's $65, $70 a ton. Yeah. So we are right now locked into a great
Well, I mean, that
price.
sounds great, but year 4, we're in trouble.
And then it goes out to bid again, and then
I was
we got
gonna
to
say,
deal with it.
if it's at 65, $70.
And I'm happy to say that the company that we locked in with, and the reason I locked in with them is because they are very good. Their asphalt, for the 22 years I've been working at the highway department, I've seen their roads, and I've seen other companies' roads. Theirs, by far, absolute best. They don't use that wrap that I told you about. They use straight stone. And
Well,
it is
I
absolutely
remember
great.
reading about some of the highways out in the West where the testing was just on viscosity.
Mm-hmm.
So they would mix some very low end and some very high end because it was cheap. But then the road fell apart 12 years later.
Well, I stick by Mass DOT because they test this stuff. They have the whole test facility, do everything they need to do to make sure that the asphalt's correct. So when I spec out my asphalt, it's now spec'd out to Mass DOT standards. I don't even mess with it. It's definitely Mass DOT.
So you can just count on them to
Yeah.
say that if you're buying from this on the state bid list.
Mhm.
Now, do you have to go to bid on this, or can you buy it off the bid list?
I go to bid because I think I get a better price. We do a little bit above average as far as towns go with paving, so we do get good numbers. And it's nice to have 10 paving companies come in and bid, because you know you're going to get a good
Oh,
number.
you get that many?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's big.
Local,
the problem,
or-
the reason why we don't get more is because they get too far away.
Oh.
And it's too far for them to truck.
Then the trucking costs.
Yeah, that, and then there's temperature. When they lay down asphalt, it has to be at a certain temperature, so we make sure of that. You can't, if you lay it down cold, it's not going to work.
So now, when you're doing a major road like 109, you're doing the hardtop. Are you doing anything else on the road? Sidewalks, lights?
We'll do any wheelchair ramps. We will
okay.
fix any curb issues. We'll fix drainage issues. Any manholes or catch basins that need to be rebuilt, that'll be done at the time. But we're not doing any sidewalk work there. It's actually pretty decent. And sidewalk, we can always come back after and do it if it falls apart. So it's just a huge cost. If we did that, I mean, now the price keeps going up. So.
Well, I remember when you were looking at Purchase Street, and everybody said, well, why don't you run 2 sidewalks like we have? And you
I'd
said,
love
yeah,
to.
but I could do a quarter mile, and that's it before I run out of money.
It's a lot of money. I mean, on a road like Purchase Street, you want to put granite curbing in, because that takes a lot of abuse between snow plows. The plows are down there every hour. You know, if I put hot top out there, we'd torn out.
My little development, Whitewood, we made the mistake of not demanding granite curbing.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2.5 years, we had Cape Cod disappearing berm.
Yeah,
And I think it was 3-4 years later, gone.
right. And with the sidewalk, the Cape Cod berm doesn't work well. Not with
Well,
the
I mean, you
sidewalk.
can't even tell. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just gone. If
Yeah.
it was granite,
I mean, don't get me wrong. In some of the side roads, I'll give you an example. We're going to do Spring Street this year. Spring Street sidewalks are just they're ancient. They got
Where is Spring
they got
Street?
stone curbs. It's across the street from down the old Kentucky Fried Chicken was.
Yeah.
It's a Brazilian restaurant right next door to that.
okay.
It's a one way, but that seriously that has stone curbing. Stones.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean that's all that road is. So, in one side it's got that, the other side it's got an obsolete, not handicap accessible sidewalk. So I'll take a road like that. I'm going to eliminate one of the sidewalks because it's a very narrow street. We may be able to widen it a couple feet by just replacing one sidewalk.
But you'll put the cuts in for the handicap access.
Yeah, we'll put all that in. We'll make it accessible. We'll make it all meets the standards. And but I will probably put in an asphalt curb and an asphalt sidewalk because it cuts the price down to a third. And it's not a
now
heavily traveled road. It's a
when-
small road.
Well, Whitewood and Leah Lane is not very heavily traveled, but 3
Right.
years after it was put in, the asphalt disappeared.
Yeah.
How do you keep a street from disappearing?
As long as it's done correctly. It has a lot to do with the base behind the curbing. If you put the curbing down, your gravel behind it has to be compacted correctly. You put the base on top, you put the curbing on top of the base asphalt. You pave up to the curbing with the top asphalt. So you kind of seal together. Then it has the gravel and the sidewalk behind it, holding it all together.
So
It'll get scratched.
I
mean,
can't
it'll-
blame
it may
John
be
Redden
round
for
after a
taking
few
his
years.
plow and cutting it off too hard.
Yeah, the problem with Cape Cod is you just drive up on it. The
Right.
plow goes right over it and tears it out. You can't do that with regular stand-up berm.
Oh, because it's
And
squared.
it will, like I said, it will take a beating. It will be rounded after a few years, but it won't come out. You can't tear it out.
Well, I mean, rounded we could deal with. We
Yeah.
have nothing.
Right. But to take all that concrete out and put it back in concrete, it would be more than the road.
Really?
Yeah, concrete is, a yard of concrete's $125. I mean, it used to be 50. It's just, it's outrageous. And that's going to take quite a few yards.
So we're going to get 109. We're going to get Spring Street.
Yeah, we're going to get Muriel Lane, Yale, Covino, and then I have a bunch on the wish list. I don't want to say them because
Well, no, but those
they
are
hold me to it. So
no, but the Covino and those are on the list.
Mhm.
They're going to make it. Because
Yeah.
every year I remember that you look and say, if I got a few extra shekels here or there, I'll do another street or two. But it all depends on how much it really costs you.
yeah, you go into there with your estimate. You say it's $150,000 to do Spring Street, And well, we're going to pull this sidewalk out. We're going to do this, and we're going to widen this. We'll put and it starts
then
changing.
surprise, and all of a
and
sudden
then you
it's
find
200.
surprises. You got to bring gravel, and you got to haul a lot more gravel out than you thought you did, and the price goes through the roof. You end up adding $20,000-$30,000 to a road. It happens, and then that takes away from another road that you planned on doing. You only have so much money. It's like a puzzle. You just got to.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, we put in an extra $500,000 a year as a town.
Yeah, we're at about we're about 1.3.
Because I remember Chapter 90 was always cute, but
yeah,
what was it, 700,000-800,000?
It's 825,000.
Okay.
It hasn't really gone up much over the years.
Well, we're lucky it hasn't gone down. Because
Yeah.
when you talk to other towns,
it doesn't go down, obviously. It could be higher because there's $300 million in that fund in the state, but they only give us $200 million of it. 1 year they gave us what they called pothole money. They threw the extra $100 million out there, so we all got an extra couple $100,000. They did that 1 year. They haven't done it since.
now when you talk about the rubberized squirty to extend the road, so that doesn't help you with potholes.
It does. It does. If there's no potholes there. Once you have potholes, it's a never-ending battle.
Right.
You'll notice if you drive around town now, you'll see big patches, 10 by 10, 50 by 10, whatever. Those were bad pothole areas. So instead of just keep patching and patching, we just cut them right out, grind them right out, start fresh. Go right down to the gravel,
That's what I'm
repave,
saying.
build
I
it
mean,
up, start fresh.
The rubber kind of fills in the cracks so
Yes.
they don't get worse.
Well, think about it. You got a crack, you get water in there, you get wintertime, you get freezing cold temperatures, there's ice in there, and then when everything melts, the road falls apart. It breaks apart, and that's how your potholes start. 99% of your potholes are from frost. It's a bad combination of asphalt and water in the wintertime. It just breaks it up.
But now, as a homeowner, what can I do? I see a pothole in front of me. Do I call the highway department
Absolutely
just
call
to let
it.
you know?
Whether you call us, you call the police department, call somebody. I'd prefer you call us because it's quicker. But
I'm going to call Tom O'Laughlin and say, come
believe
arrest that
me,
pothole.
They call the selectman, they call the town administrator, they call everybody.
I'm just
Have
laughing.
they call the highway
Hello,
department.
Tom, come
Yeah.
arrest that pothole.
But, well, if it's late at night, you can't get a hold of the highway department. We're not there. So you're going to get the answering machine. So you call the police department. If it's a major pothole, they will call a highway guy in to fix it. We'll fix it in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Temporary patch. Everything you see when you see the patch truck out is temporary until the summer comes when we can permanently fix it. I mean, there's potholes we patch every day, the same ones. If you have a lot of rain over the winter, they just keep coming out, and get deeper and deeper. It's constant.
Was it that it washes out? Like I remember Ivy Lane that year when the manhole or whatever you call it, the catch basin,
The big washout. Huh?
the big washout. Is that the same thing that you get water in there and it just keeps eating?
No, that was. There's so much water that comes down that street. I mean, you're talking 48-inch pipes. It all comes down that street, and the way those manholes are set up, you got a pipe coming in up here and a pipe going out down here. So the water comes out and hits the wall. It's always hitting that wall.
So it's like a drill.
Yeah, it's a bad setup. It's the way they did it years ago. They don't do that anymore. Now there's an invert, it goes straight through. So it wore away the wall. Being blocks, I mean, water gets through the blocks. They're not cemented, they're dry blocks. So the water made its way through there.
Why didn't they cement them? Is it cost?
They don't cement blocks because it sucks the water back in that's in the ground.
Oh.
It's just a way of keeping the water in. I've never seen one cemented. I guess there's no reason to. So now they don't use that today. They use precast, one solid piece. So what happened was it eroded that wall overnight with all the water.
It's kind of like your
Finally
Godfrey
fell
Brook
apart.
thing where you drop in the one big chunk.
Yep. Yeah, and anything we replace now, precast. Up till probably 10 years ago, we were doing blocks still. We'd take them apart, build them back up, take them apart, build them up. But we've gone completely to precast. A little more expensive. It's expensive, but it's quicker. So,
And it also
kinda
lasts,
raises itself.
right?
It'll last way longer, yes. What you see is a lot of failures at the top section where the frame and cover actually meets the concrete. That's the weak spot. That's where the salt gets in, the salt deteriorates. Any mortar you put there and nothing caves in, you'll see them drop down a little bit. That's usually what it is. The top is just failing.
Now, knock on wood, I haven't heard many screams about we're going to lose this home on West Street. I remember when Buckley dragged me out to West Street and said, 3 feet from that guy's house, this brook is eating away. He's going to lose his whole home. Mm-hmm. And we had, the major, oh my God, let's go. I haven't heard a lot of noise the last couple of years. I'm hoping that's a good thing.
It kind of is. I mean, we've fixed some of the real bad sections. Not saying we're close to done, because we're not. There's more to do. But we've been picking away year after year. We do a little bit more. We have a couple other sections we're going to do. We have to wait for more FEMA money, but we are going to do it. The biggest one was the Main Street culvert, which we did. That was a huge project.
That was the most dangerous one, too,
Yeah,
if you think.
that was a serious project.
I mean, if that had collapsed,
Yeah.
that would really make
It's funny
an
'cause
inconvenient morning.
I went under there, and there was actually posts in the middle of it. So it was more like a bridge than the culvert. There was walls, the top, and then there was poles going down the middle that held the big cement. Actually, they weren't cement; they were granite rock stones holding it up, tall stones. There was nothing under them. There was like a little stone that big hole because they were all eroded. That's all that was holding that up. So it had to be done.
That's a scary movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was done, say, 3 years premature, because that was actually scheduled to be on the TIP project for Route 16. We had it on that, and that would have added another $2 million to that project. But luckily, we got the FEMA money, and we did it. So that in Congress.
Are we over that FEMA debacle?
Yeah, our FEMA hazard mitigation plan is just about complete.
I remember
within a month it'll be done.
I was totally stunned. A lot of us were when we found out we didn't put the mitigation plan in, and all of a sudden we were not allowed to collect. I mean, again, touch wood that we didn't have any major disasters.
Right. We didn't miss a lot, believe it or not. The way it works is when you have your hazard mitigation plan, you are allowed to apply for hazard mitigation funding. In order to have hazard mitigation funding, you got to have a big catastrophe or a big storm. You got to have something, because that's when FEMA money kicks in, and whatever money's left goes to hazard mitigation, which is where we get the money from. And I think we had one, and it wasn't a lot of money, so we really didn't miss out.
No, but if I remember right, what we were worried about is, God forbid, we have a big catastrophe. We were on our own.
Well, no, we still could apply for FEMA funding for storms, but not hazard mitigation is a different process. That's mitigating a problem before it happens. That's like, we know there's problems with the Godfrey Brook. We know this culvert is going to collapse, or this wall is going to fall in, or this section is going to overflow. That's where the mitigation comes in. So that's different money. That's money that's left over after a storm. When they paid all the towns off, everybody got reimbursed the money they needed.
So they put $100 in the kitty. They only spent 80,
and the rest goes.
The
to hazard
20 now
mitigation.
goes to mitigation.
Exactly.
So it wasn't as dire as we were.
No. I don't think a lot of people understood that. I don't think the selectmen understood that. We finally explained it to them. It's just a matter of us not being able to get mitigation money to fix things that may be a problem.
Well, that makes me feel better, because I was more worried that you get mega storm, and then we're on the hook for millions and millions with no help.
No, and in fact, since all that, we have got reimbursements for storms. We've got I think $125,000 last year. We just applied for some more this year. I don't know if we're going to get it. I don't know if they have enough funding for everybody. But we have gotten it.
But we're back pretty soon. We're back on track with our FEMA plan approved, or at least submitted.
Yep. So actually, yesterday a new mitigation application came out, but it didn't include us, unfortunately. It's at the coast, the whole coastline for the March 2nd storm. So it covers all the people on the coast got wiped out, but not us.
Do we have anything? I mean, the brook's always something we beg for. Any other projects that would come under mitigation that we would hope to look for?
The only thing that really affects us is water in this town. I mean, it's not like we have even the Charles River behind the highway department is a huge issue. That overflows, we're in trouble. And I've seen it right there. I've seen it there. I'm like, don't overflow, because it's going to wash the building away.
Send all the highway department out with little buckets.
And then we have our fuel tanks right there too, and that's a concern for me. And you may see that on my capital plan pretty soon, because they are 20 feet off the Charles River.
Wow.
If that ever did go over, wash the tanks.
Are those underground?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is that still allowed anymore? Or?
No, I don't think they would allow that today. The DEP would never allow that.
Because I remember the places like, when I was down in Maryland Yacht, when the underground tanks were questioned, they said, okay, no more.
Yeah.
Even if you built a concrete coffin and then put it in with double walls, they just, After a while, they said, forget it.
The easy fix is above ground tanks. Relocate them on the property above ground, and then you don't deal with that no more. You know,
Now, these are big tanks, right?
they are 10,000 each, 10,000 gas, 10,000 diesel, big tanks.
Because if I remember, you help out all the departments by buying in bulk. You still do that?
Yes, everybody but fire. Fire has their own tanks. They're smaller tanks, 2,000 I think, 2,000 gallons.
Why don't they use the same tanks?
I don't know. Convenience. It's in their new fire station on Birch Street,
Oh,
which is actually kind of nice because sometimes our tanks go down, we use theirs, and when theirs goes down, they use ours, so we share.
but you can still buy at the same price?
I buy off the state bid. I'm pretty sure that Billy
do
does
too?
Yes. Pretty
Okay.
sure. Yeah, I used to put it out to bid, but it's a lot of work for not much difference. So
So now you talk about our problem is water. My favorite of all words to hear, stormwater. I mean, that used to be when you came in front of us and said, I need another 15 grand, and we would all cringe.
yeah, those days are over.
Well, I just remember when you first came in and you had to get the, whatever, the pooper scooper things, and you
Yeah.
said, I need another 15 grand to do my catch basins, and we all cringed. Now, 15 grand, we'd be jumping for joy.
What's happened though over the years is the highway has absorbed most of the cost. So I'm not asking for the money anymore. We go out and clean our catch bases. We pay for it out of my budget. We sweep the town twice. I pay for that out of my budget. You know, leaf pickup totally comes out of my budget. That's all stormwater related. So those are costs we're not actually paying. Well, we are, but I'm not asking
But
for
now, something like leaf pickup, probably the most popular program in town. You know, I mean, we could say the trail and all that, but I remember when it first came out, they were, what, $250,000 trucks each? And I remember everybody saying, wait till you got to replace them. You'll never get the money to replace them.
Yeah, well, we didn't even pay. We replaced two for less than the cost of
I
one
was
of
gonna
those.
say, then
so.
you came out with the light. It wasn't the, wasn't the first ones those big heavy duty
Big trucks.
big trucks
Yes.
that had the catch basin
Yeah,
puller outer?
They were actually catch basin cleaners modified to pick up leaves, and they worked. You know, at the beginning it was actually they worked very well, and they got a little older, and the amount of leaves we pick up has tripled.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, we used to be able to do it in 5 weeks. With those trucks, we couldn't. With 6-7 weeks, we would get up to Christmas time, and we wouldn't have them picked up yet. It got too slow. So
But what made
trucks
it
are still
slow? Was it
working.
the amount they carried? Was it now that you can grind them?
Yeah, the amount they carried. They're supposed to carry 20 cubic yards. They didn't because they couldn't. It never could fill themselves up with leaves. It was very difficult for the machine. It would clog the screens that actually are inside the box. It causes the whole vacuum thing. You need to have those clear. The leaves would clog it. It wasn't designed to do that. So you'd go with half loads a lot, and they were just big. They were slow. The pickup unit, the suction hose was just so slow.
But it seemed like also it was a convention. There were what, two, three guys that were involved?
Yeah, you need a driver, you need an operator, and you need a raker. It was very inefficient, I should say. I don't know how else to put it.
But now the new ones are much lighter and quicker.
Yes, the new ones are designed specifically to pick up leaves. It's like having your arm on the side of the truck. It is so fast. That arm moves like a lightning bolt. It's amazing.
But don't you still need a raker if people throw sticks? And
We have one raker that we run between trucks because the amount of raking is actually less because of the versatility of the arm and how it can move and go over fences and twist and turn. And it's a one-man operation of the truck. You have a driver that runs a joystick. It's made it so much simpler and so much faster. So going into this year, we'll be running both new trucks finally. It was a process to get two trucks. I mean, I promise you guys to keep
you
them under
went-
100,000 apiece. But part of that was buying a pre-emission truck because of the amount of idling, and and we saved a ton of money by doing that. I bought two trucks for less than $30,000, where a new truck would have cost me closer to 90. But then we put the brand new leaf suckers on them. And the first one went out 2 years ago. It worked great. But it took me another year to find the right truck for the application. It had to be a right-hand drive pre-sweeper, so it had to be a sweeper at one time because they're all right-hand drives, and it was a process. So I finally got that together. That truck will be on the road this year. We still have one of the big ones. I'm just gonna keep it maybe
well,
through
you
the season.
said that was the spare, right? In case.
Well, I'm gonna keep it through the season. I don't know what to expect with the new truck either. So. And then after the season, it's gone. We will either build it into something else or we'll auction it off.
But you're going to be able to do it with two of the new trucks.
Absolutely.
'Cause I remember my mother came screaming in, "You call that Scotty man? He came 1 week early." When we had the week we were designated,
Yeah.
and the guys came by. I guess they got ahead of and they pulled out the leaves. My mother was so upset, she was ready to take a broom to you. And it was like, is he coming back? It's like, he'll come back next week.
You know, picture it this way. The first week, it takes us 1 day the first week, because obviously all the leaves aren't down there. We know that.
When I had week 1,
Right.
that year, I took the 2 leaves, I walked them down,
Yeah.
and I put them at the bottom of my driveway.
Yeah. Well, okay, so it takes us seriously 4 hours, day 1. We're done. So the only thing we can do, and the only thing that helps us, is to move ahead, to hit the whole entire town, pick up every pile. That gets us ahead of the ball, you know? So we do that, and the phone rings off the hook, and we'll be back your week.
Yeah, your
We'll
week
be
is
back
week
your
2 or week 3.
This is an advantage. You just won. You got your leaves picked up early, but we do come back. And then at the end, like the last week, if we finish a couple days early, or we want to go on for 1 more week, the weather's good, we'll do the whole town again. You know, I can't guarantee that. That's the only problem, because the snow could come in. Once it snows, we're done. We got to shut them off.
Well, now what happens? You get somebody like me, diligently puts all these leaves, big pile, 150 feet across, and the snow comes.
We're in trouble. It's a mess.
But what do I do? I mean, I can't.
I would hope that they're not in the street. If they're in the street,
but they're in my yard. But at the end, past the wall. Now, what do you tell somebody? You can't say bring them back up the hill.
We can't pick them up in the snow. So that's a chance we take every year, and it has happened. Ivy Lane, the last route, the last section of town. Ivy Lane's very heavy with leaves. Yeah, we just started it, and it snowed. We had 10 inches of snow.
Do you wait for the snow and then go back?
That was the end of it. We stopped for the winter. We couldn't do a thing.
But
because the snow never melted. It froze.
But then you inherit all those leaves in the spring.
Yeah, the homeowner does.
So the homeowner that year just...
I mean, I'd like to just tell everybody to put your leaves out right the weekend before your week is, you're getting your pickup, just in case. Because if you know snow is coming, don't put them out.
Well...
You know, I can only do what I can do with the weather. The machines can only do what they can do. And it was a disaster. I think what happened was we went out there and if I remember right, we picked them up with the front end loader with snow and dumped them into dump trucks. And it was a huge process.
You try and help.
We wrecked a lot of lawns. We broke curbings. It was a mess. Of course.
The front end loader isn't meant to be a leaf picker.
No, and we did what we had to do. But if it snowed earlier and we had 2 whole routes, we'd be in trouble. We would. So that's why we kind of don't want them in the road. Not that they're not supposed to be in the road.
Well, they're not supposed to be in the road anyway, right?
There's a lot of reasons, but that's a big reason. Because how are we going to plow the street with leaves in the road? It'd be a mess. So.
No, the plow would just push them.
Knock on wood. We've been lucky.
So we go back to stormwater. It's no longer $15,000 a year.
No.
Why?
Because of
why you spend so much money on water?
Because of the amount of the change in the amount of stuff we have to do. I mean, it's just...
Well, I mean, like you talk about, now I clean the catch basins twice a year. That's not Scotty wants them clean.
We have testing now we have to do for phosphorus. We got to do dry weather, wet weather. I mean, you got to climb in every manhole.
But aren't you cleaning the catch basins twice to minimize the phosphate?
We clean the catch basins once. We clean all ours once. We're actually supposed to go in there with a vacuum cleaner to clean them, but we use a clamshell right now. The vacuum cleaner gets every single bit, gets everything. The clamshell leaves just a little on the bottom, but they want you to use a vacuum. If I have to hire a vacuum to come in and do this, it's going to cost us, say, probably $20 a basin as compared to $12 a basin. I have 3,500 basins. So this is where all your costs go up.
But now $12 a basin, it's our truck, it's our people.
No, I sub it out. We don't.
Okay.
One truck, in the amount of help I have, I really couldn't do the whole town. It would be very difficult. We do run our basin cleaner in low-lying areas in town after rainstorms, and if we have a collapsed manhole, we use it. But I can't do the whole town. That would be pretty much impossible.
So we're farming out $12. It doesn't sound much, $12 a basin.
At 3,500 basins, like.
Well, no, it's a lot of money, but
$45,000, yeah.
if I'm bidding and you're saying I'll give you $12, go down and clean my basin, doesn't sound like a lot of money to.
No, but they come in with 3 trucks and they do a fly. It's one after the other.
Is that right?
They're very fast, yeah. So they'll be in and out in less than a month. And like I said, they use 3 to 5 trucks.
So they're taking out leaves, sand,
Yeah, whatever's in there.
but what ends up going in there? Is it really the sand that is on the roads, or?
Most of it's the sand on the roads and the leaves. The sand is where the phosphorus is. So that's why you need to take it out of there before it runs to the rivers. That's part of it. That's why they want a vac. They want those things spotless. So there's no sand in there, which is impossible. It's impossible. We don't use a lot of sand anymore. I mean, we're 90% salt, straight salt.
Really?
Yeah, we've got away from sand because of the cleanup. Because after you clean that basin, that has to be trucked, stored, and then it has to be tested and sent to a landfill.
So it's almost
So
hazmat. It's almost hazmat.
Yeah, it's another 40 grand. Yeah, it's $80,000 to clean the basins. Now add, another double the price to clean them. Now we're going to have to $120,000 to clean the basins. All these little things just keep accumulating.
And the leaves, you can't take them up to Asylum Street, dump them, because it's all full of sand, right?
Well, yeah, it's whatever material was in the catch basin. The same thing with the street sweepings. That has to be tested. That has to be brought to a landfill. No more dumping in people's backyards like in the old days. There's no more, none of that stuff goes on.
I'm just
We
thinking
can't
the
do it.
geriatric authorities got that
Well,
big.
You guys need sand? We got tons of it. No,
Yeah.
you can't do that no more. DP doesn't like that. Before my time, of course.
Yes, you would never do such a thing.
Never.
But we do have a mega compost area for the clean
Yep.
leaves, or
Yes, our leaf trucks dump there. We compost them. We make them into compost. And we give that back to the town residents. It's always down the highway department. They load their trucks, they load their barrels, whatever. We give it all back. So we pick up your leaves, we make compost and give it back to you. Comes with trash. There's a lot of trash in it because we don't clean it up. But
now, I mean, I know that we have the little basin for salt and sand.
Mhm.
Because people like me used to drive into the middle and say, "That's my salt. I paid for it. Give me some."
that's right.
So you can see the growling with the big machines running around. They're worried they're going to crush my car.
Right.
So now you have a basin for that. Is there another area for compost?
Same one. We take
So-
the salt out, put the compost in.
Oh,
Switch
okay.
over. Seasons, we switch it.
So it's just seasonal.
Yep. So we have the compost area up on Asylum Street.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it is, and I know the transfer station struggles with their leaves. It's too small of an area. The traffic, the people, they can't get rid of the stuff. It's a mess over there. So I'm trying to make Asylum Street so we can dump our leaves there. The whole town can dump your leaves there. This is my plan. I'd love to get this done before the fall. This plan has been in motion for 2 years
Well,
now.
so we've talked about it. But now, would that mean that me as a homeowner would go and dump leaves there, or
Yes,
the contractors would go and dump leaves?
contractors.
No contractors.
just homeowners and us, that's it.
And there's enough from just the homeowners down the transfer station?
Oh yeah, that place is packed. And they run out of room, and they can't compost down there, they can't do what we can do at that site, so it's hard for them to do anything but truck it away, and it costs money to truck that out of there every
Can't
year.
take that fancy new 18-wheel thing
Yeah.
that we bought you and throw the leaves in
We
there?
could, but it would be a lot of trips and a lot of money and a lot of
Oh.
fuel, and a lot of my work is working, you know? I just think if I can do that for the town and I can get that set up so all residents dump at Asylum Street, I think that would
So
be...
how would that work? I mean, we wouldn't have an employee there just to
Well,
watch.
we're going to work it out with the Board of Health, I think. We've been talking about it. One of their employees may have to be there, you know?
Okay, because that'd be my worry, is that it becomes a dump.
No, it'd have to be an employee there, absolutely. You know, there's going to be a new roadway put in. We've got the design now. We're at DEP talking about, we're going to do a couple culverts.
And that's right across from Geriatric, the countryside, right?
Yes.
It's that big mountain.
Yeah, right now there's an entry at the countryside, but it's a narrow road. It's
Well,
across
yeah, but
the
that's
street.
fine when one person
It's not
or
working.
two.
Yeah, right now it's fine. But if I actually open that up to the public,
If
there's
you
gonna be a lot
tell
of traffic in
everybody,
there.
when you go down the transfer
Yeah.
station, we're going to say, shoo, go up to Asylum
Right.
Street, then that's going to be a bit congested, I would think.
Right.
There's
Right,
a
it's
huge
not gonna
pile of
work.
dirt there, too, isn't there?
There's basically processed gravel. What we do is anything we dig out of the street gets crushed and made into gravel.
Okay.
We constantly recycling everything because there's not that much room up there. If I keep burying it, we're not going to have any more room. When the pile gets big enough, we'll try to auction it off and just try to
Oh,
sell it
people will
back.
buy the
They'll
gravel?
buy it. Yeah, yeah. It's crushed. It's what you call 3" minus, 3" stones and smaller.
Oh,
It's good gravel. We're using the roads. I mean, you can't use it for a lot of applications, but it is usable. So whether it's fill or whatever.
So we have to clean the catch basins more often. What else do we have to do with the stormwater that's costing us $400,000?
Just public outreach alone is huge.
Okay.
Our public outreach right now is going to a classroom, teaching 8th graders about stormwater, and then putting a flyer up all over town. I mean, this is going to get a lot bigger.
That costs $400,000?
No, that right now costs 17 grand.
I'm just remembering you came and warned me that it was $400,000 a year for the next few years.
A lot of it's the testing. We have to test for everything, and the testing process is expensive. You got to open manholes, you got to sandbag them, you got to stop water for dry testing, and it's a big process.
But we don't do that ourselves, right?
We have
farm that out?
240 outfalls. An outfall is where the pipe stops and the
And
water
the water
goes
comes out.
We have 240 of them. I've been working this town a long time. I didn't know we had that many.
Can't make a longer pipe to the next town?
Well, they don't want that. They want the water in the ground. That's what stormwater is all about. So all those need to be tested all the time. So you're talking testing laboratories, sending samples out, having employees just to do that. And we don't have
just
I don't have the employees to do that.
Just the sampling.
Right. Even though I got 2 new employees, thank you. But I don't, I mean, still, to send someone out in the field for a couple of weeks and test everything is a lot of work. It's not even 2 people.
You send them out in the field, they're not doing the testing, they're doing the sampling.
Right.
Because you need a chemistry lab that's certified to do the testing.
Right.
So even if you had...
That's a huge expense right there.
You know, even if you took your 2 new employees and all they did is run around filling up little bottles and labeling them, you still got to pay to test it.
Yeah. So that's where the consultant has to come in, and that's where I talked earlier about regionalization. Share that with other towns. Get the same consultant to come in and do all the work.
Now I'm confused because it seems like I can see the actual mitigation and the steps. It happens in Milford, we pay for it. I don't know that there's any economy of scale there, but why would we have to hire our own design consultant, and the next town over hire one, and the next town? Wouldn't it be easier just to get together and have one that does 4 or 5 towns?
Right, and that's what we've talked about with the town of Medway and the town of Franklin. We did a grant with the DEP to study that process, and it's been going on for 3-4 years now, the grant, and it's finally ending, and we come to the end, and we've figured out what we can do, what we can't do, and whether we actually follow through with this, we don't know yet. We have to keep this committee together that we're in when we have to keep moving forward. But anything you buy in bulk, obviously, I'm not saying,
especially a person.
If you're going to hire an engineering firm to do all your testing, if they're testing 3 towns, I would think you're going to get a better number than if they're just doing 1 town.
But I mean, I'm just thinking, if you're going to buy a person, and you say, look, Milford needs 14 hours a week. Next town needs 15 hours a week. Next town needs 8 hours a week. Pretty soon you're at 40. It's got to be cheaper to hire 1 full-timer than to hire 3 bits.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've actually thought about employees like that, but
but even if it's a consultant,
we've thought about equipment. I mean, if you need a certain truck to do whatever it's doing, share it amongst 3 towns. I kind of had an issue with that because you're talking 1 piece of equipment being shared by 3 people, and who knows how many drivers and operators, who's maintaining it.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that, Scotty, is that's our toys.
Exactly.
And if somebody breaks our toy,
like to share my toys.
Yeah, no, I mean, seriously. I mean, if somebody breaks the toy, you're coming to the FinCom saying, I got a broken toy.
Yeah, that was the issue with equipment. But engineering costs, design costs for projects. Like if you notice the corner of Dilla in Sumner Street, that is a stormwater wetland. It's not complete yet. When it's done, it should be really nice. But that is actually...
People have asked, as you come down Dilla, before you get to the trail, there's an area that nobody seems to know what it's for.
That's what it is.
Oh, that's...
Stormwater wetland. So what we've done is we built a wetland. We've diverted all the water coming from Upper Fountain Street. That whole area drains directly into the river right at the bridge on the other side of the dam. Stormwater wants you to put that water in the ground first. The first 1 inch of any rainstorm is the dirtiest. That's the first amount of water that will go in that wetland. That will go into the ground. It'll leach into the ground and clean it. The
So
rest
it's kind
of
of
it,
like a settling pond.
exactly. So what happens when it builds up to a certain level, the rest of it runs out. But it takes that first 1 inch and cleans it. That's That's what stormwater
But that's
is all
the
about.
dirtiest, the top.
Yes.
Once I've washed enough water down Ivy Lane or Fountain Street, all the yuck is going.
Yeah, car oils, sand, dirt, whatever's in the street. Phosphorus, number one. So that's what that's designed to do. So when you see that after a major storm, you'll see that thing full like a pond, and it'll seep down. It'll only get so full because it has a overflow on it. And that's exactly what it's designed to do. You're going to start seeing those pop up around town as we can do them.
Isn't that what Stylon used to do? Do I have to be worried that I'm going way back,
But
the settling ponds?
You understand, the finance committee, with that pond, it needs to be maintained. That's where the cost is. That's where you need to have employees and actually go in and clean stuff and mow it and do certain things with plants, and that's all maintenance. With that, when that signed, sealed, and delivered, and we sign off on that, I get a repair and a maintenance plan that I'll be handed, and this is what needs to be done. That's part of stormwater costs also. That's all part of that 400.
Now, for years, we've been dealing with the fact you have too much room and not enough things to put in it. What's happening, I mean, all kidding aside, every year Parks comes in and says, Scotty is squeezing us out. You come in and say, I got this new truck, but I got a $180,000 truck that I'm leaving outside, and leaving it outside is not good.
What has it been, 14 years, 15 years they've been in there? I remember when it happened.
Has it been that long?
Yes, they left the high school and they did all the high school work.
Yeah,
And they did all
we
that.
needed the space up there to do Brookside.
And they were allowed to come down. This is before I was the highway surveyor, but they were allowed to come down there temporarily. We cut one of our garages in half and gave them a space that's probably, probably almost 100 by 80, big space that we used to keep all our trucks in. We built a new building, so we had storage there, but it's come to the point that we have stuff outside, they have stuff inside. And I understand you're not going to leave lawnmowers outside. That's not good for the lawnmower. Can I leave a trailer outside? Yeah. I'm using my salt shed now to store trucks, and I hate having the trucks, and the salt drives me crazy.
I was going to say, wait a minute, of all places I wouldn't want cars or trucks.
Not in the salt shed. It's like being in the ocean.
It's in the middle of the,
You might as well put it on a beach, because that's what it's like.
The salt air is going to eat it up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I hate it, but I've asked, I've sent letters. We've sat down with the commissioners, park commissioners, and they're coming up with a plan. So, hope to have them out of this soon, so we can actually use our space.
Well, it seems like, when they first came out with the plan of building a building out in Hopkinton, or the Milford side by Hopkinton, a lot of us said that makes no sense. It just didn't.
Yeah.
I would have rather seen the highway barn expanded, but then they said there's no room. Taking that area and making it a Milford, eventually, a Milford DPW area. So you got Parks right there in the old, what's now Pinto shed. But I understand we may have a chance to rent that. And as long as it's rent to own, I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to see rent.
It's a good space there, actually. The garage in the back that they're talking about renting is a brand new garage.
Right.
It's plenty big enough. It's perfect.
Well, Benny spent good money building it. And
Yeah, and it makes more sense to have everything centrally located. It does. Because the Parks guys work with me in the winter, so they're always there anyways. And if they have to go do their own thing, they'll be right there to go do it. They'll have to hop in a car and drive across town to go to their own
I
shop.
like the idea that the equipment then is right there. So the mechanics can, walk 20 yards and work on Parks Department, work on highway.
Yeah, we don't do a lot on the Parks Department, but if they need us to, we do. We try to
But if
share
they
them
need tools or stuff that you have that,
Yeah.
some of the stuff that gets expensive.
To be honest with you, our maintenance department is too small right now as far as how much we can put in there at one time. In the middle of a snowstorm, we have trucks lined up outside in the snow waiting to come in because we got no room. It's bad. It gets bad in the winter. And so actually, if they move out of there, half of that bay will turn into a repair bay. That's our plan once they move out.
Oh, that would be fantastic. And I like the idea that all the Parks people in the winter are right there with you.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, you can yell over, hey, Mike, I need 2 drivers. Can you help me?
Yeah, and we actually have a couple of them that actually jump ship for the winter. They work for me full time.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that because they work for their own department, but a couple guys want to, so they do it.
Yeah, but that's part of Mike's attitude and being part of Milford. Because, if he said, no, they can't help you, go hire somebody.
Right.
That's not what Parks Department.
No, are you kidding me? Mike works with me all the time.
I was gonna say,
we work
Mike's
with him,
always
he
had
works
that
with me.
attitude that, if I can help,
Yeah.
I'll jump in and
absolutely.
help.
That's you have to do that. This is the town. It's not just about my department. It's about the whole town.
Yeah.
And I try to help everywhere I can. Mike helps everywhere he can. So.
And I mean, realistically, from a support side, both of you are more likely to get increased support if we see, as forget FinCom, but the town residents, if they see you all working together and squeezing every dollar, well, then it's easier to feel better about giving you another dollar.
I think I figured that out. Well, I mean, I don't understand a town not working together. I don't. It's all the same company. I look at it as a big company. The town is a company. The taxpayers are paying the bill. Why would I say I'm not going to work for your department, but I will work for this department? No, I work for everybody. If I can do it, I'll do it. If I can do it within my means, I do it. I mean, I just did something for the senior center. I put a guardrail in for them. I don't expect Sue to go to town meeting to raise $5,000 to put a guardrail in when I can do it. I can do it. It's within my budget. It's the end of the year. I have a little extra money, and I did it for her. I don't have a problem doing that.
Well, the other
It
thing
works.
too is my hat's off to you, because if it cost you $5,000 to do it, it would have cost her 7 or 8.
Exactly.
You know,
Because I
'cause
already have the bids.
she
It's all
doesn't
there.
have people
Yes.
that are guardrail putter-inners.
Right, and I also going to use one of my own employees to put a wooden guardrail. I'm going to take the metal off, put wood on. So I'm helping out with employees, and we help her with the block mulch, and we do everything. For anything we can do for her,
I
we
mean,
do
it's
it.
the same thing with
If I
plowing.
can do it, I do it.
You plow the schools. The school doesn't have to go out and hire people to plow every inch of school property.
Right.
You know.
Right. Well, the snow budget's the snow budget, and everything comes out of there. I mean, that's a good thing to have, and I'm glad we have that, because we're able to do the work we do and keep the streets the way we do because of the money we have now.
I'm always get a kick out of when people are saying, "Why do you need more money for snow?" And one time, is it still $10,000 an inch?
It's $10,000 to $11,000 an inch. That's what
Which
it
is
came
better
up to
than
this
the
year.
13 or 14 when you started.
Yeah, we've learned to cut back and get more work done. Actually, I mean, we've figured it out. There's more we can do, but we got the right equipment.
But
now.
you
It's about
poisoned my
equipment.
mind, because now when I hear 8 inches of snow, I'm thinking, $80,000. I mean, I never thought of it that way until you came before us.
The biggest problem is, and I love this, come fall, I have to buy salt. And it hasn't snowed yet. So I'm spending,
Yeah.
50, 60,000 on salt. So I'm already in the hole. I got to bring that back. The first snowstorm's an inch. It costs a lot more than
Well, it was just a
$1,000.
killer, because I remember that snowstorm that came in at a foot.
Yeah.
And
That's good.
I
I like
heard
that.
my wife look at me and say, "Don't even say it." I said, 120,000
No,
just went
it's-
away. That's 20% of our budget.
Yeah.
Just went away in one storm.
I can't tell you it's exactly 10. Sometimes it'll be 11, because if we have to do snow removal on Main Street and that whole process, that's a $50,000 night. And that throws us off. That'll bring it up to the 11. But we try to keep it right there. The more snow, the better. It actually works out better.
I just got a kick out of when I had to present the article at town meeting. I said, it snowed. We had people remove it. Now we have to pay them.
Yeah.
There's not much more you can say, except that night it was, and we have it on good authority that no chickens were hurt.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't.
Just always use that number, 10 to 11,000. And I'm not, don't lock me into that,
Well-
because if something major happens, we lose a truck, or we got to,
No,
something
sure.
happens.
No,
I
but
mean,
mentally, I don't think people understood that, a 6-inch snowstorm is around $60,000. So you get 9 of those or 10 of those in a year, there goes our budget.
yeah, gone. It goes fast. It's not cheap.
Well, thank you for coming on and letting us know what's going on.
Thank you.
To our 6 loyal viewers, thank you for watching. I've been involved with the Highway Department for many years, watching how they spend the money. I can tell you that you can feel comfortable. The money does get stretched, and we get good value. Even the leaves. I don't know of too many towns that pick up leaves for free, but little stuff like that goes a long way. So good night. May tomorrow be a better night than tonight. May God bless, and thank you for joining us. Now we just have to wait for the credits to roll. We're going to talk when you get a chance about the toys for this year, because you had one big truck and one possible.
I have a sidewalk tractor, a loader, and a truck.
To me, it's all the same. It's toys.
We can push something off. I can figure it out.
Well, I mean, what I need to find out is all these extra special projects. Like the engineer came forward and says 400 here, 200. I'm like, okay, guys.
Some of that was on my capital sheet, so I don't know. It seems like we got all mixed up.